What is happening, guys, and welcome back to the channel, where for today's video, thanks to Shozy Store, we're going to be checking out the BaiWei SPOCK Interstellar Pirate Transformers Studio Series Dark of the Moon Shockwave. Now, if you would like this or any of the previously released figures by BaiWei, then definitely be sure to head down to the links in the description box below. And as we check Shockwave out, he is quite simply looking awesome. Definitely one of the most savage Decepticon designs from the Transformers Dark of the Moon movie. And it is so awesome to see BaiWei revisit what is undoubtedly one of the best Studio Series molds of all time. So as we check out the details, the head sculpt is looking fantastic. I do believe this is brand new. Personally, I think it looks more accurate to the film than the original version, but check out the mandibles. I mean, the second Shockwave kind of ejects out of the driller in the movie, you see these things spring into action. It is just so cool. Now, he does come across to be way more purple than how he looked in the movie. To be honest, I actually quite like it. I find it to be a great throwback to how he did originally appear in the 80s series, but check out the ribcage design. That looks brilliant. This guy also has a complete modified right hand arm, so that's awesome. Check out the finger sculpt, which in themselves looks so savage with the serrated blades on the tip. And I also really like the silver dry brushing that you can see throughout this guy, not to mention the classic arm cannon, which is enormous. I mean, this thing really is overkill. He does also have a pair of die-cast kneecaps, and even the ankle guards have these ferocious spikes sticking out the side of them, meaning that he could probably impale you even with his foot. Now, as we spin this guy around here to the back, if you're like myself and are an absolute geek for Dark of the Moon, then I'm sure you've played the video game and will know that this is actually Shockwave's arm cannon's power source. This thing here would kind of rotate, it would generate a burst of firepower, which would shoot through this hose and out of the cannon, and this was also his weak spot. You would need to fire away at this, slash away at this in order to take Shockwave down, but just such a cool looking figure. Because he never transformed in the movie, it really allowed the design team to go crazy in terms of movie accuracy, which, talking of, Shockwave also includes his blade weapon, which again, if you've played the Dark of the Moon video game, this also emitted some kind of EMP burst which would almost stun Optimus Prime. It really does kind of suck that we never saw some of those moves shown in the film, but as we check out the details, very nicely sculpted as well as painted. Now, if you are going for movie accuracy, then the blade can be underslung, which does look awesome, although unfortunately it does kind of restrict the new articulation that we get out of the wrists. So you may actually find it better to attach it onto the side of the arm, which again is another throwback to that original 2011 Dark of the Moon Shockwave figure. Now, as we check out Shockwave's articulation, the head is on a ball joint, so it will look up, down, tilt side to side, and rotate left to right. Optimus! Although pretty much the second you crack out of the box, it does become very loose very quickly, although I should imagine would be quite easy to fix. The shoulders will rotate all the way around, they'll then hinge out to the sides. There is a bicep cut, an elbow bend, which I'd say can go to 90. The wrists, as I mentioned previously, can this time hinge both forwards and backwards and rotate left to right, which is a huge upgrade over the original version. Each and every single one of the fingers are on ball joints, so again, these are a lot more posable than the Hasbro release. Unfortunately, still no waist cut. Would have been amazing, but due to how he transforms, pretty much impossible. The hips, however, can kick forwards that far. They'll also go back to that far. They can then kick out to the side, so you can have him high kicking Optimus Prime, again like we saw in that Dark of the Moon video game. There is a thigh cut, 90 here at the knee, and the ankles are just as posable as the original. So in addition to rocking both forwards and backwards, they can also tilt side to side, meaning that you can get Shockwave looking like an absolute brute, much like we saw in the film. This really is an awesome figure, and for something which only retails for $25, I think BaiWei have done a fantastic job. Now, as I mentioned previously, the mold in general is without a doubt one of the best Studio Series figures ever released, but I'm gonna be real, guys, I think BaiWei have just taken it up another level. The brand new head sculpt and the new arm design that we have here for this side, and the additional bicep panels, I think make this the superior version of Shockwave, but the attention to detail is crazy between the both of them. In terms of the colour, despite this one being a lot more subtle in terms of the purple, I really do like the throwback to how he originally appeared in the G1 series. series. And just to show you guys exactly what I mean, here we have the Transformers Siege G1 Shockwave. And running through a few Studio Series comparisons, just so you guys can see how Shockwave stacks up, here we have the Dark the Moon Megatron, who I'm hoping BaiWei approached themselves, as this was decent, but I definitely think there are areas of improvement. Voyager Class 2007 Optimus Prime. For something a little more recent, here we have the Rise of the Beast Optimus Prime, and just look how brutal that Michael Bay Shockwave looks in comparison. It's really about time the Decepticons made their grand return to the live action movies. Here's BaiWei's Ironhide, and at the moment they have been absolutely killing it. I really cannot wait to see what character they have up their sleeves next. And then to round things off completely, here we have Deluxe Class Bumblebee. Now, as we check out Shockwave's transformation, the first step would be to take the shoulder joints, hinge these here out to the side, so you're basically T-posing Shockwave. We can then come down here to the ankles, take the heel spurs and flip these here all the way around. You'll then want to take the ankle joint, extend this here downwards and make sure the knee is completely straightened out so the knee pad is covering the thigh. Do the exact same here for this side, so take the heel spur, flip this here all the way around, take the ankle, pivot this here down, again completely straighten out that knee joint. Then what you're going to do is spin around here to the back of the arm cannon, take the hose and completely detach it. That will then allow us to take the shoulder joints and detach these away from the torso. Now once you do this, 9 times out of 10 it should completely free up the backpack so we can begin extending out all of these joints. Then you're going to want to come here to the head. This grey piece of the neck should pivot here forwards, and then we can take the head and shoot it there backwards. Now as you can see, there are these little tabs here on the sides of the torso that are going to peg into some slots on the inside of the leg. So you're going to want to take the hip joint and extend this here outwards, rotate here upwards, and as I mentioned, that little slot should very nicely snap into that tab. Do the same here for this side, so grab the hip joint, completely extend that outwards, flip the hip all the way up to the top, and snap that there into place. You'll then want to flip Shockwave down like this, and as we spin around here to the back, there is a tiny little circular port that this tab is going to peg into, so just snap that there into place. We can then spin back round here to the front. You're going to want to take the shoulder joints, hinge these here inwards, and on the underside of the arm is this tiny little slot that's going to peg into that tab. So just bring that shoulder joint there downwards, snap that into place. The arm cannon can be a little trickier to do due to its size, but the same steps apply, so just try your best to line that up. As we spin it to this side, hopefully you guys should be able to see just exactly what I'm doing. And then for some finishing touches, as we spin around here to the back, there are these 2 little tabs and slots which should slide into what were originally the shoulders of Shockwave. Now for robot mode, you do use this port. For tank mode, I like to use this one. So just take that hose, thread it here all the way through until it does snap there into place. And bang! Here we have Shockwave fully transformed into his Cybertronian tank mode, and it's just okay. You know, Shockwave never transformed in the movie. To be fair, he always came across as being way too proud to ever obtain an Earth-based vehicle form, but had he transformed, maybe it would have looked like this. The design kind of blends in with what we saw from the 2007 Cybertronian Megatron jet mode, so I guess it's not too far off, and it's kind of a great throwback to the original 2011 Shockwave tank mode, but detail wise it's pretty much everything that we saw in robot mode, just crumpled up into kind of a bit of a mess. But I do kind of like how you can see Shockwave's Cyclops eye here at the base, and the serrated ankle guards do cause for a very ferocious look here at the front. I can imagine this guy just kind of tanking over the top of dead corpses of Autobots. That's kind of wicked. And as we spin around here to the back, the way the backpack kind of becomes the boosters of the tank mode, I also think is pretty cool, and you can further weaponize this up by attaching the blade on top, which I do think looks a little better than just leaving it off to the side. But robot mode, I really think, is the only logical way to display this Shockwave. Now, as we check out a few comparisons for the tank mode, again we have the original Studio Series Shockwave. Now in this form, there are pretty much no differences at all in terms of the design. Just for fun, here is how he stacks up alongside his original alt form, that being some kind of Cybertronian laser. And then for scale, here we have the Studio Series Deluxe Class Bumblebee. And so, wrapping up on this review for the BaiWei Dark the Moon Shockwave. This is a pretty well done figure. They basically took what already was an amazing Studio Series mold and to me made it better. The brand new head sculpt, the modified humanoid arm now really do match what we saw from the movie, and it is just a very well made figure. With the exception of the loose ball jointed head, all of the joints feel up to par with the official version. Nothing feels particularly brittle. The plastic quality I think is pretty decent. The tank mode, much like all of the Dark of the Moon Shockwave figures, is just okay. If you guys would like to add this guy to your collection, then definitely be sure to head down to the links in the description box below. I would love to know what you guys think of the figure and the review, and what character would you guys like to see BaiWei approach next. I thank you all so much for watching, and until my next review, transform and roll out!